want to make a case today about self-sabotage and this concept of that there is a saboteur inside of you that's kind of out there to get you and to create difficulties in your self-discovery process. And I'm going to talk about my experience as an example, as an analogy of how I think this all happens, and even give you some ways to potentially deal with your self sabotage. First, I'm going to say that it is very, very important that you find some sort of a technique that can establish this conversation with these parts of you because they are fundamentally parts of you. And I do it through journaling. So I like to put my thoughts in paper because there's like a communication that we establish when you write something. It immediately brings back that statement, and you can question that statement and start having a conversation with it. So the idea is to create this environment where this can happen, and I have it done through years through journaling, and I so recommend it. But basically, I started this example sitting down today when I woke up, and I haven't been feeling my best for the past couple of days. And I wrote that I am not feeling my best, and why not? That's the conversation that we are establishing here. Why not? I don't feel I have energy. I don't have enough energy. I just feel like I am depleted. And why is that? My out of control habits got me off track. Self-sabotage. Well, I got out of control because my behavior, so the responsibility I'm putting in the behavior got me out of control. So continuing the conversation, I realized, why do I, love to have energy? Because I also love to plan and execute. I feel like by experience, and this is the conversation I'm having with myself, I feel like when I have energy, I plan and I execute, I feel my best self. So I start, entering this black hole of why am I out of control, right? Why am I not able to plan and execute? So, question number two is what is out of control for you? So, if you're saying that you don't have energy, that you love to have energy to plan and execute, and you don't have energy, you were saying that the out of control behavior is stealing your energy. Let's go even deeper. What is out of control for you? And in my case, it is eating excess sugar, excess snacks, salty things, and consuming content on the internet, videos, information, podcasts, Instagram, and shopping over the internet, going to Amazon and doing like thinking, I need this, I need that. So that's out of control for me. And you see that now I am creating like a trail where I'm going to the bottom of what's going on here. When I am out of control, I could also understand that I don't feel well. I don't feel physically well, mentally well, or emotionally well. Like I know I am consuming too much content. I know that I am bloated and I'm like full of trapped gas. So I am going even further as to say that the out of control is actually feeling like shit. It's not being my best self. It affects me profoundly, I wrote, meaning that this is something that's causing me harm, which is basically a big, big, bold statement of you need to change. So it makes me feel why do I put myself in this situation? And I feel like that's when we get to the self-sabotage concept is why am I doing something such as eating a bunch of sugar or consuming too much content over the internet? Why am I doing these things if I know that they make me feel like shit, right? And that's this concept of there's a part of you that's out there to get you, to sabotage, to kind of create unnecessary load into your life. And the really, really fundamentally most important thing to realize in this concept that I'm bringing about self-sabotage, that it doesn't exist, is that there's no such thing as a part of you that's out there to get you. There is a part of you that was kind of created and molded to protect you. So how come? How could over consuming things could protect me? You're gonna have to rewind, do like a reverse engineering and go all the way back then when you first felt uncomfortable with a system overload. What was the thing that gave you comfort immediately? And it could have been a chocolate bar, or laughing about puppy dogs on Instagram. And those behaviors kind of immediately anchored and wired into your system as to, look, Maura, when she is overloaded, we're going to go ahead and give her this behavior because it soothes her. This behavior is to protect me. He was created on. It's funny because when you think about self-sabotage, you think of something against you. But when you think this way, you think that there's something there to protect you. But it's just operating in a manner that's not working for you anymore. And it's fundamentally because you haven't come up with any other better idea. And this is where the agency concept comes in. So the agency is your capacity, it's your ability to influence your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors by looking at all of those and creatively coming up with something that could potentially be utilized when you have a system overload. And let's just go a little bit longer about system overload. What happens now? What is the system overload? The system overload is excitement. So it's funny because the body reads good anxiety, which is would be like a good feeling of being stimulated by what's going to happen in the future, which could be a trip, or it can be like a party or something that you look forward to, finishing up your graduation, finishing up your studies. So that stimulation, that excitement, your body reads it as a stressful thing. The same way that if you were doing, some sort of creating an environment of being anxious inside of you because of something bad that could happen. The stimulation in your system is the same, which is stress. But we know that you cannot operate chronically in stress. You have to give room to de-stress. So you are basically in harmony. So this whole journaling process is basically a process where I come to my center in search for harmony and balance. So I could feel doomed by this saboteur inside of me, seeing as something I could never get rid of, or I can have agency and see that I am offering this strategy, the scoping strategy to deal with the stimulation. So we are going to see dissect this as in a two-way process, because the first one is you have the agency to reduce the stimulation. So you can see yourself going to the pantry, going for the sweet, and you can pause right there. You can pause and see, why am I going for the third time to the pantry to get chocolate? That's because I am in system overload, and the mechanism, the strategy that has been operating until now, it's of comfort. It's giving me some sweets. It's giving me, some funny videos on the internet. But we know that I'm going to be with trapped gas tomorrow. I'm going to be completely feeling like shit and not being able to plan and execute, therefore not feeling myself. So I am going to get my focus back on how I can create a new reality for me. So the first phase, if for some reason I cannot control the stress, because the overstimulation can happen voluntarily, so you would be like over consuming things and doing things that are overloading your system, but also external circumstances can cause an overload. Somebody's sick, something is happening at work that's giving you more load. So those stimulations can happen, in a way that easily it can kind of slip out of control, and you see yourself being overwhelmed with stress. So the second stage of this process is noticing all of that and trying to create through repetition a new modality of a new strategy that's another part of you that can cooperate with you, bring that forth instead of having this old pattern operating, involuntarily, automatically, without you having any control of it and making you feel like shit. So instead of blaming the pattern, we dissect all of this, just like I said, and you start realizing that you can determine the pace in which you consume things, which is some form of a desire to not go to that rock bottom again. So you know that sugar leads you to feel like shit, or overeating, or over consuming anything, alcohol, cannabis, TV, sex. All of that is basically taking you to compensate some sort of a overload that your system is having, and that itself causes another layer of overload. So it's fun, you coming like rolling down the mountain and in full speed. So when you reverse engineer all of that and you see that I am getting overstimulated, am I making myself overstimulated? Yes. So let's reduce the pace. Let's go back to the habits and plan and execute things and wire those in a way where the old coping mechanism, it starts fading away, and you can actually lead your life based on, grounded on these new patterns that are beneficial for you. And it could be, for instance, that a better coping mechanism is to take a nap. It's kind of bundle up in comfort, and or maybe making like a soup, a stew, something warm instead of a bunch of sugar, cooking for yourself. It might be that a long warm shower provides you comfort. It might be that turning off your phone or not buying certain groceries during times of overload. And like I said, it could be an external overload. So it is also important to understand the neurochemical things that are happening inside of us. So when you get all that pleasure and pain kind of imbalance inside of you, you are going to be more prompt to activate those subconscious patterns inside of you, because it's like, if I don't have any tools here in my mind on how to deal with this, let's bring up all the shit that I already knew that I do and it works. But it doesn't work. That's the catch. When you go to the bottom of it, it doesn't work. So you have not only agency but responsibility on really changing these patterns that are really bringing you down. And that doesn't mean you're not going to face them once in a while, because sometimes they're deeply anchored in your subconscious mind, because they have been leading your life for such a long time that you need to make like an extra effort. You need to have an inner cheerleader kind of clapping the hands and saying, come, come, you're doing great. So that week or that month, you were able to do your physical activities. You were able to keep your mind decluttered. You were able to express your emotions, kind of completing cycles of emotions and talking, communicating, connecting, finding peace in nature. And then you are at that bliss, and then life just throw you a curveball. And instead of going down into that spiral, decadent, destructive, wave of massive suffering, you are going to lean on this communication that you have with yourself, the development of this relationship you have with yourself, that's going to extract the bottom of what's going on, which is going to be something similar to what I described, because we are all human beings. We are all going through the same hurdles and difficulties. So when I bring this forth, it's because it affects me profoundly, and I feel the call to share these ideas because I know that sometimes misconceptions or misunderstandings can make things feel like a failure and that you don't have any options. And that's it's a lack of agency because of a lack of information and knowledge. Because sometimes if you have a little bit of knowledge, that can empower you to create more behaviors, different thoughts, different emotions, to fundamentally substitute the ones that are not working anymore. That's going to require creativity, which is a great opportunity for you to access the authenticity inside yourself on what are my needs, what's important for you. It might be that for someone to cope with stress physically might be running. For another one, it might be stretching and doing some qigong. It might be that for a person, meditation is what she likes. It might be for the other one, visualization. It might be something that she likes. So everyone is gonna creatively assess inside them what's their beauty and how they can utilize the beauty of their being to build things that are productive, that are enhancing, instead of something that just makes you feel like shit and puts you in a failure kind of mindset, and it creates more of the same, and you are tired of that. You don't want that anymore. So I hope this video is an inspiration for you wake up and do this journaling process, get to the bottom, get to the root of what's going on, see stress as something valuable in your self-discovery process. Because like I said, nothing is good or bad. It's always light and shadow. The same stress, the same excitement that you feel for great things, that same stress and excitement you feel for bad things. But too much of that can cause a system overload, and we are human beings and we did not have that amount of information before. We are consuming, in my case, sugar content, and it's obviously something that we are not being able to catch up. And it tends the self-sabotage, or these strategies that are supposed to protect you, they tend to get totally control over you, and it's just an operating system that's not looking for your best. So, in times of system overload, we need to find better ways, better strategies, and take agency in creating, anchoring them in your subconscious to make them more effective and long-term producer of great things and peace and love and connection in your life. So